Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, where wealth strategies and investment wisdom collide, featuring your distinguished host and certified financial planner, Bart Zandbergen.
Welcome to the Zandbergen Report, a showcase for wealth strategies and investment wisdom that's essential for our evolving world. I'm your host, Bart Zandbergen. As usual, we have in studio today our producer, Paul.
Yes, always marveling at the chaos that happens up to 30 seconds before we go on there, and everybody comes on so calm and casual.
So a little ironic, isn't it, Paul, that we have a seasoned radio show host?
Yes, well, I was thrilled to have such a person because I know he'd be here 20 minutes before, he'd get ready, we'd have plenty of time to prepare, not like our guests who just run in, you know.
No, he would not just
you
run
guys
in.
just keep doing what you do. Go ahead.
Well, with that said, Dino, thanks for joining us today. I'm very happy to have Dino, a longtime friend and a great professional.
So hold on, I'm going to stop you then
there
right
we
now,
go.
because if you're going to just say Dino without attempting my last name.
I'm getting started here. I'm just getting started.
Let's do it.
All right.
He's right. Most show hosts, say, well, I want to welcome my guest, and they lay it all out. They don't just say, welcome, Dino.
Wow.
I got to try. I got to back him
Thanks,
up.
Paul.
Wow. See who my friends are. All right. I am pleased today to have Dino Katsiametis,
Yeah, that was good.
managing partner of California Coastal Loans. Dino has close to 20 years of experience and is an expert practitioner in the mortgage, banking, and real estate industries. He has a passion for serving clients with a financial planning, relational approach instead of a one-time transaction mindset. Because of this, Dino is truly considered a trusted advisor by his clients, realtors, and other financial professionals he works with. And I can attest to that, and Dino, I enjoy working with you. As a former area manager of a large national bank and host, here it goes, of his own radio show, Money Matters with Dino, on Clear Channel Radio, Dino has always stayed ahead of market trends. His approach comes from looking at his client's entire financial picture before making recommendations, as well as utilizing his innate listening skills to give his clients exactly what they want. Within his practice, Dino works alongside CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, accountants, real estate, and banking professionals in order to provide comprehensive financial scenarios with a win-win opportunities for his clients. Integrity, attentiveness, availability, insightfulness, and strategic thinking are some of the words that clients use to describe Dino. Dino, how was that?
I don't know. I want to know who wrote that. That was amazing.
And I got to give a shout out. Clear Channel's big time. Almost as big as OC Talk Radio. Not quite as big, but Clear Channel is a big deal.
Well, Dino, again, thanks for coming in today. I know you've had a kind of a hectic, busy day when we were making fun, but I understand, things happen, so thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, of course. I certainly want to get into what you do and how you do it and why you do it. But one of the things I want to make sure we cover today, you and I have had some great conversations over the last couple of years. You've done more research than anyone I know on working with millennials, marketing to millennials. So I want to make sure we cover some of the stuff that you've uncovered.
Real interesting stuff.
So why don't we start with, I know you're 20 years in the real estate mortgage industry. How'd you get there? Why are you here?
Yeah, sometimes things just happen in life. It's not always by design, and next thing you know, 20 years have passed. But I enjoy life, and it happened to be I was going to get into real estate. I decided I was going to do real estate, and previous to real estate, I was in the clothing business, which is totally off, right? Like, doesn't even have anything to do with real estate. But I did a lot of driving back then. I was driving up to LA from Orange County a lot, and from city to city in Orange County, because I had multiple retail locations, and I had a wholesale business selling used Levi's to Japan and Europe at the time. So anyways, I was driving a ton, and I thought the Japanese market died on us, and that just kind of killed the whole business. And I was like, real estate's that. I've always loved real estate. I think this is what I want to do. So I studied real hard, got my test in record time. My license, like in 2 months or something. And just at the very last minute, somebody I knew said, dude, you should look into loans. I'm like, why? I never even thought about that, right? And he's like, because you can manage more in one location. Like, you can just sit down in front of your computer, back then just your telephone, really, right? And you can manage more, and you don't have to run around from house to house and do this and that. I started thinking about it, and I was like, that sounds good to me, not having to drive anymore, not having to always be out and about. And just like that, I switched gears, went into loans, and really it was the same licensing, so it was nothing new. And then I realized that, we don't make as much money per deal as real estate agents do, and we don't have that glorified lifestyle of being able to meet at Starbucks and conduct business, but I can touch a lot more, and I can do a lot more business. And quite honestly, I ended up really liking it. When the realtor gets to know people on the outside,
right?
The lender knows every little hidden secret from the inside out, right? We know everything about them, much like you do as the financial planner. You really dig in. So people open up a lot to me when that happens, and I get to know them personally, we become friends with so many of them, and we try so hard to serve people, like really serve them and do a good job with them. So it just goes way deeper than trying to get a loan closed.
Yeah. Yeah, even though it sounds like it was a little bit happenstance, there's more to your why, right? I mean, you're doing this because, at least it appears to me that you're pretty passionate about what you do and wanting to help people.
Very much so. It's weird. I mean, sometimes you could easily look at whatever you do in life and think of it as a job, and I've just never done that ever. No matter what, even when I worked at Nordstrom's in ladies' shoes, it still wasn't just a job. It was more than that. I always enjoyed what I did, and because I enjoyed it, I think it made it so much more.
Yeah. So, do you your family business is pretty interesting for those of us that are local. Do you mind saying what that is and what your involvement with that was? Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where years later, I can look back and say to myself, "What were you thinking, stupid?" So I grew up in San Clemente, great little town and small town, but my dad was a restaurateur, so he had a place called Mr. Pete's, very well known in the old days, 70s and 80s, for his Mr. Pete burger, which was basically a cheeseburger with pastrami on it, and his fried zucchini. And it was amazing, off the charts. Well, one day he decided to go Mexican food and open up. He had a few restaurants in between, but he opened up a Mexican place, and everybody knows it as Pedro's. Great place to go after a day of surfing. Great place just to go when you want to fill up your belly, with some heartburn. So Mr. Pete's and Senor Pedro's, one's Mexican, one's American, and I just remember I was young at the time. I was, I think, like 12 or 13 when he opened it, and I was asking him why, and he goes, "Beans." He goes, "Beans are profitable." That's why. He goes, and he goes, "You just cook up a big thing of them, and you put them pretty much in everything." And he goes, "They cost next to nothing."
Right.
So that was his initial why of opening up Pedro's. But Pedro's is one of those iconic restaurants that just has been amazing over the years. And before he retired, he asked me, "Son, it's all yours if you want it. We can work something out. You can, as long as you keep me going."
Yeah.
And I had already started my clothing business and was doing well. And growing up in the restaurant business, it's not like it's all that glamorous.
Yeah.
And so I said, "No, Dad, you just sell it, man. You'll do really well on the sale. You can be retired for the rest of your life, all this stuff." And I look back now, and I'm just like, "Oh, why, stupid?"
Well, it's definitely an icon. I mean, I grew up surfing, and that was always a staple stop coming back from Trussell's or wherever we were down there. Awesome. Okay, so fast forward from Senior Pedro's and Levi's and so forth. You're doing what you're doing. How did you get into this millennial niche? Would you call it a niche, or is it just...
No, I mean... It's not, because it's the largest population, of all times. So I wouldn't call it a niche at all, just because it's really mainstream right now. I mean, that's
from that
it,
perspective,
right? Yeah. How did I get into it? That's I remember specifically the moment, and it was called stress. I was terrified and just got scared, so. Always done well, but in 2008, just like most people in the industry, just got my butt kicked, and hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of hours. Just I kept putting time back into it, kept making it better and better, got my business back up and running again. But then I went off and had my 4th kid. And that's what did it to me. Like, I remember just being stressed. Like, what am I going to do? He wasn't even there yet. He was coming like another 5 months or something like that, or 6. And I just remember thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I got to figure out how to work another 20 years. I mean, I lost pretty much everything during 2008. So now I got to like start over again. Yeah. And I got 4 kids now. So I had, up until that point, I had talked to, through my old radio show, a couple of really great guys that were telling me just where the new way to go about things is, and how it's doing. And one of my friends, CEO of Trilogy Financial Services, they spent $1 million rebranding just to make sure they can attract the millennials. And he gave me a book to read, which I wish I could remember the name for you now, but I can't. But I learned a lot from that. And then I just kept talking to more people and studying. And I thought to myself, in my stage of my career, I had kind of advanced past first-time homebuyers. And many people would be like, I'm advanced over it. I don't need a first-time homebuyers anymore because, number one, they're much smaller deals. Yeah. Number two, they need a lot more hand-holding. So you're over it. You're making more money. You got more seasoned people. But then I thought to myself, where am I going with these people? They're all buying maybe one more house. So I got like 5 more years of this nice, beautiful, incline in business, and then a slow, steady decline until my death, not getting better. Yeah. And that scared me with 4 kids and 1 on the way, or 3 kids and 1 on the way. And so I decided I took a step back. I remember calling my business coach at the time, and a couple other people asking. And I remember my business coach, he's from Australia, and he goes, "Mate, you're square on." and what it was very simply, that's where the future is. And so I took a step back and said, you know what, I'm going to go back to first-time homebuyers, and I'm going to redo my pitch a little bit so I can communicate better with them. I'm going to just redo how I do things. And it needed to be redone because I did have to take a step back in order to explain more of the details that I took for granted that everybody knew about. And I needed to be, I'm not going to say hipper. It wasn't that. It was just more in line with how they think. And I found so many great things about them that I really appreciate. One is they're actually very appreciative. And 2, they're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. A lot smarter. Mm-hmm. I mean, the amount of things they did and do all at one time, as opposed to what we ever did growing up. We focused on 1 or 2 things. They can do 5 things all at one time.
It's so funny. We refer to them like they're a species.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. And the other thing I noticed too, this whole everybody thinks they're just online people. They don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to go online, do whatever it is they do. And you know what they do when they buy something from Amazon. Yeah. But when they're buying their house, just like anybody else over all the years, maybe they don't want to come in and shake your hand and do it like in the old days where you did with your banker. Yeah. But they want to know that who they're dealing with is a legit person, Yeah. And a referral based is everything. Yeah.
So hold that thought. I'm going to spend more time digging into those different attributes. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
With more than 25 years of experience, Bart's comprehensive perspective has earned acclaim from clients across the globe. Gain access to lessons learned throughout Bart's career by following @Bart Zandbergen on Instagram. To learn more about Bart Zandbergen as an advisor, mentor, and public speaker, and for more information on Optivest Wealth Management, please visit www.bartzandbergen.com.
And we're back with Bart and his guest. Can I ask one quick question before you guys jump back into it here?
Go, Paul.
It's all about marketing to millennials. I get it. They're huge. They're even more than the baby boomers. But how do you market to people when they have so much debt and everything costs so much? that when I was a millennial, I'm the parent of a millennial. My daughter and son-in-law just bought their first starter condo, $400,000. Cars are $40,000. They came out of college with $40,000 or $50,000 in debt. I didn't have any of that. How do you market to them when they have no money?
First of all,
how do they make it?
You sound like an old guy when you act like $400,000 is a lot of money for a house.
What was your first house? Come on, what was your first starter house? How much did it cost? I am a lot older than you guys.
So you know what's interesting? My first house, I didn't buy the house I lived in first. I bought it after I bought 2 rental properties first.
Okay. Well, you were smarter than I was.
And they were down. I think they were like $250 or $300 or something.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, it's a good question, and there is a lot of debt out there, but millennials per se tend to mooch off mom and dad a little bit longer than our generation did. So they actually don't spend nearly as much money.
I'm going to use that term to my daughter because she'll say, this is official now. You're mooching. And you know what else? They go without. I see that a lot. And they're more creative in how they come up with things. Like my son-in-law and daughter got a couple roommates. That's how they helped pay for it. So they bought it, but the roommates are going to live in. A little more people in there. Or they go without. They don't need to have the newest car and some of the other stuff that we had to have. I don't think they have as many toys.
I'll tell you the other one, too. I don't know about you, but I would have spent a fortune back in those days to pick up a girl. Now they just go online and swipe. It's a heck of a lot cheaper.
So they've gotten smarter at things. But it is, I would think it would be hard to market to them because they're huge and they want to buy and own things like everybody else, but they were deferring a lot of this stuff. They were living with mom and dad longer. They were to pay off debt. They were deferring family formation. They were deferring. So
you know, it's interesting. You say, how do you market to them? And one of the pieces I think that's different about me is I actually don't market. I don't market at all. Every deal I get is a referral based deal that I got from either a realtor, a financial planner, or CPA. So oftentimes they're already somewhat qualified by the time they get to me. And I'll leave the other piece up to people like Bart to put them on a financial plan. And so many of them are seeking advice. They actually do seek advice. The difference is, though, an older guy would seek advice and just whatever that guy said, because he was trusted, he took it for gospel and moved on. The millennial will read up on it and validate what the professional told them, and which I respect. There's nothing wrong with that. But by all means, they get put on a plan. And the other piece that a lot of people don't realize is there's grandpa and grandma, and there's mom and dad, and a lot of millennials get help for their initial down payment. That's just how it goes. And the other piece too is there are all sorts of programs out there to restructure debt. A lot of the student loans that are out there, they restructure debt. They might only have a $200 or $300 a month payment, but they don't care about that big fancy car like we used to. They only have a $200 a month car payment too. So in reality, it's not all that bad.
Hey, you know what? I just realized. Let's take a step back for just 1 second. What define millennial? Is it just age, years born, or is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, it really is just years born, and to be honest, it's been so long now. I don't even remember what the official years are.
Those who came of age in the new millennium. So you had to be kind of like in your 20s in the new millennium, somewhere in there.
I think like 36, 37 is the tail end of the millennial.
Yeah, I'd say somewhere, so it's kind of people are in their 20s, mid to late 20s kind of right now are millennials.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. All right. What I would say, what advice would you give to people that are dealing with millennials?
Be yourself. The phony, fake, and too salesy type of a guy is the millennials read right through it, and they just don't like it. So it's hard for me, right? Because I really am genuine to start with, and I hope I never come off that way to anybody, and I'm very honest. So you give people, and I don't think it matters if you're millennial or not, right? You give people straight up answers and straight up news, whether it's good news or bad news. It's just the only way to go when you're communicating with people.
Yeah, yeah. What have you found? You just said the word communicating. So when you're dealing with a millennial, do you text them? Do you Facebook message them? Do you call them?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So I do struggle with this one. They love texting. And as much as I text all day long, all the time, but I hate texting when it comes to business.
Business, yeah.
And it's too many things can get missed. The things will get missed, number one. Number two, the relationship won't get formed as strong if you're texting. And that's the piece I can't stand about texting is it's hard to form a relationship when you're doing that.
Yeah.
And I urge them all, like one phone call in the very beginning is all I really need with you.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes. I want to ask you questions. I want to hear it from you. I want to hear the tone in your voice.
Yeah.
And then, from there we move on.
All right. So you felt that you can forge a strong relationship with one call and then just follow up text.
And great communication of, this is what's happening along the way.
Yeah.
And then, and it's just also our style at work is don't let them ask a question. You should be able to answer that question
Preemptive.
before they even think about it.
And what have you found to be the an effective way of, you don't market, but from marketing materials? Are they checking your website? Are they Googling you? Do they go to your social media? I'm guessing the answer is no to this question. Do you give them a packet, like here's a folder, old school, with like here's what I do, bio, the whole thing?
Yeah.
What's the process there?
Yeah. So another great question. Actually, no, we don't do any of that stuff. None at all. It really doesn't mean anything. We're referral based, so I have the assumption and I run with it where if they're calling me, that's because they want to do business with me already.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that they don't need to like me. So I need to be likable already up front, and I need to be able to show a certain degree of professionalism and more importantly, somebody that they have confidence in. And that, I think, is the number one thing is like when they talk to me, do they believe me? Do they have confidence that I can do the best job for them? So from there, quite honestly, none of the old school tactics of salesy type stuff of here's who I am.
Here's a trifold.
Yeah, I've got this 3-color beautiful trifold of me. It talks all about me. None of that anymore.
Yeah.
I go a little bit of a different approach. It's a little more informative. They are information junkies. They love information. But I've also realized that too much information can confuse a person, especially when getting into a situation like buying a house, right? I mean, you look at if you want to buy something on Amazon that costs $20, sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole and you'll spend 2 hours doing research over reviews and all this other BS stuff that you just bought it. You buy it and be done, right? Buying a house, I mean, man, there's so much more to it. And I try and give a overall picture of what it's going to look like. And then I tell them I'm going to go back to a lot of this stuff, but I'm not going to do it until a little bit later. It'll just confuse you right now.
Yeah.
When do you, I get to interrupt for 1 second because I see this with my own daughter and son-in-law. When you do give them information, do you just tell them something? Do you send them something? Or do you show it to them? And I set up probably the answer I already assume. When my son and daughter, my daughter and son-in-law want to learn something, they go to YouTube.
Yeah.
For everything. Where are we going to eat? What am I going to buy? How am I going to buy a house? They think there's a video for everything.
Right. And they do. They do that all the time. Here's what I tell them. I tell them that after I do the initial consultation. I ask them to send me a bunch of stuff. And then I tell them, if you guys want to meet after that, which they never do, but if you guys want to meet after that, let's do it after I see all your stuff. This way I can have a legitimate answer for you instead of a hypothetical answer, right?
Yeah.
But after I get everything, I tell them, I put together a spreadsheet and I give you some options. And my job, my goal, I tell them, is that I want you to understand what's in front of you. I want you to understand the pros and the cons to all of those. And then it's your job to decide what's best for you and your family. And if you're like, still like, I might understand it, but I don't know how to make a decision, then tell me to make a decision for you, and I'll tell you what I would do if you were my brother or sister or whatever, you know.
That's great.
But I need you to understand. I need to be able to explain to you why this is all happening, because one thing I've learned through the years is I don't have a crystal ball, and I can never predict what's going to happen down the future. And I never want anybody to come back to me saying that you did this. So I'm going to explain to you everything, and you're going to decide.
Yeah.
You know.
So I know everyone comes to you as a referral, and so it's really your position is to lose the business, right? Because they're coming to you under the assumption that they're going to work with you.
Right.
But do they not look you up some fashion or another? Do they Google you? Are they looking at your website? Or are they looking at your social media? Or are you fine with them? That's not important. My impression is that they are very into that.
It's a good impression. I'll tell you. Up until literally 2 weeks ago or so, Tyler, my right-hand man at work, he's been pressuring me for Yelp reviews and Zillow reviews, and I'm like, I mean, I don't need them. Like, I mean, obviously I don't need them. And he goes, yeah, but everybody's, you know, it's like, I'm like, everybody what? I go, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never asked anybody to do that. I've gotten plenty of testimonials from people that have emailed me and said, you know, can I write? And I'm like, yeah, you know, write me something so I can have it, but I've never done anything with it because it's never been that. Well, just to prove a point to him, I set up a Yelp account, and I did the whole package where we even spent a little bit of money, right?
Yeah.
And my theory is, first of all, anybody that calls me who's from an advertisement, I usually don't like talking to. And it's because they never want to talk to me. They want to just ask me a bunch of questions that I'm not prepared to give the answer for because I don't know them yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's your rate? How much is it going to cost? Well, I don't know. Why don't you answer some of my questions first, and I'll tell you, right? But it doesn't work that way. So I set it all up just to prove a point to them. And we have all this tracking of all we can tell anytime somebody goes to, when somebody clicks on something, all this stuff, and then we forwarding a phone number to him if somebody clicks on the button. So far, nobody's clicked the button to say I want a loan. And then when you go to the metrics, other than the people that he's directing to go leave us a review, nobody else is clicking on it. I'm like, dude, I go, if I'm in the mood for a new taco, and I'm sick of going to the same old taco place, then maybe I'll say, okay, I'm in Mission Viejo. You know, show me all the taco places, right? Or I need a plumber. Yeah. Give me the one with the best reviews so I don't have to go calling all. Yeah. That's what I do. But when it comes to a mortgage, I don't know. You don't do that. I mean, the ones like you can do that obviously with Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage and all that stuff. But when it comes to a legit thing, it's if I'm going to use BART, it's going to be because somebody's telling me BART's the best.
So I think there is a dividing line somewhere that in financial services, I mean, in my business too, I'm not going to put an ad necessary to advertise. No one's going to call. It's a referral. Yeah. I'm wondering if some of the other services, like the tacos or the plumbers, for that generation, the millennials.
Absolutely, you need all of the online stuff, all of the reviews. They live by reviews.
Yeah. You know where I see it, because I see it all the time with our shows in here. People come and say, I live on just referral business. And I say, okay, well, but so if I gave you a referral, are you instantly going to call that person, or are you going to go check them out first? And people say, well, of course I'm going to check them out, even if it's my brother. And I think that's where it is. Too often people think I don't need to be online because they get referrals. But online is how they check out the referral and see whether they're really going to call that referral.
Exactly.
Well, I'll give you an example. One of the realtors that referral partner that I have, where he gives me business, he's the epitome of a millennial. I think he's like 31 years old or something like that. Brilliant dude. Like, he's brilliant. I asked him some questions because I was like, I'm trying to get a new website up just so I can have, and even though I've never taken a loan app through the website, I don't do that, right? He goes, website? He goes, because I don't have a website. I don't even have one. Like, you don't have a website? He goes, no, I don't need a website. Like, what do I need a website for? It's gotten to that point where he looks at it like that's a bad thing.
That's old school now.
That's old school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Super interesting. We're going to have another show on this. I know we're out of time, but Dino, that was awesome. Thank you. And if you don't mind, we'll have you back. I was just going to say something really funny about you. I'm going to pass it. So anyway, I have the honor now of asking you the final thought question, which is, please share with the audience your ultimate lesson learned as your career as a real estate mortgage professional.
The ultimate lesson learned, Paul said a word earlier, and I thought about jumping in. He said, I assume. And I used this earlier today with somebody I was training. I said, don't ever assume anything, because it'll make an ass out of you. And my ultimate lesson learned is when I'm dealing with people's finances and I cannot ever assume anything. I need to know for fact, otherwise I could make a very bad mistake. And that's just not how you do good business.
Great. That's great. It's actually making an ass out of you and me. I assume. Just
okay.
So my father told me many a times.
All right. I want to thank everyone for listening today. And Dino, thanks for joining in studio today. How can people reach you?
Easy. Just our website is it's California Coastal Loans. But see, nobody even knows the website anymore. Just Google California Coastal Loans. We're in Mission Viejo. It'll pop right up. My phone number is 949-720-1616.
Awesome. Thanks again, Dino. Thanks so much to everyone who has tuned in. We look forward to having you back in the studio next week. Cheers.
Thank you, Bart. Thanks so much.
Tune in next week for the latest edition of the Zandbergen Report, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Catch up on our recent shows by visiting bartzandbergen.podbean.com. The Zandbergen Report is also available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Interested in being a featured guest on our show, or have a question you'd like to hear us answer? Email podcast@bartzandbergen.com. Bart A. Zandbergen, CFP, and Letitia Burbaum, AIF, are registered investment advisors with Optivest Inc. and registered representatives with Gramercy Securities Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered by Optivest Inc. under SEC registration.
Imagine what it would feel like to lose everything. Your job, your home, your family, your dignity. This has happened to thousands of the men, women, veterans, and young adults we serve at Working Wardrobes. What do we do to help? We provide career development services, life skills workshops, job skills training. We provide the perfect interview outfit, and we get clients placed in jobs. Call Working Wardrobes, 714-210-2460. Donate, volunteer, invest, hire.
I'm Josh Seibert with Sandler Training in Greensboro, North Carolina. We've been training and developing